HappiDaze here. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and talk about some buildable teams for the upcoming TM against Kuro and company. So let's go ahead and get into the teams that we're going to be using. I did try to make this a buildable teams video, so if you've seen TreCru did put out a video today that had some buildable teams as well. Tried to make it similar to that, but with different units. So a lot of the units you see here will be different than what TreCru had, just to give you guys a bunch of variety when you're figuring out teams to take on these different 6 bosses. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll kind of show you what units we're using for the teams. Fair warning, for the Mr. 4 fight and the Perona fight, I did use kind of the recommended teams that Bandai suggest to use for those content, just because those units everyone should pretty much have if you've been playing the game the last couple months at least. And then the rest of the units I've kind of switched up. I tried to avoid units that have come out recently in Sugofest, like the Zoro Sanji Sugofest that came out. And I've also tried to limit the use of Anniversary Legends, so you could certainly replace some of these teams with the Anniversary Legends and be completely fine and get through the content much quicker. But I want to build some buildable teams for you guys so you can kind of see what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and get into the Mr. 4 and Miss Mary fight first. Look here on stage 1, doesn't matter what class or what type you are, everyone gets the reductions for the first stage. And then on the third stage, you get 5 turns of special bind on the left column, stun on the right column, 99 turns of normal attacks only, 6 turns of attack down, 2 turns of increased damage taken, and the boss has 99 turns of immunity. So the reason I suggest the Luffy here is because he takes care of pretty much like everything here. He takes care of the stun that's there, he takes care of the attack down, and he just works perfect for that content. And the other recommendation here is the Nami and Sanji, and really they're really helping to take care of the 5 turns of special bind. If you don't have that Nami and Sanji, you can go ahead and use the Usopp that's here. He'll also be able to help you out there, and you'll be able to just breeze through the fight. The rest of these 3 units here are just point boosters, so you can throw in whoever you want. That just gives you the most boosted points, but none of these 3 units of the Cracker, the Crocodile, or the Mihawk are really needed. Just throw them in there for point boosters. So for the Perona fight, again, we're using the recommended team that Bandai suggests. Lucia as the captain and friend captain, and Izo in the crew. And the reason that we do that is because Izo will help take care of the block orbs. You do end up getting a slot bind on here, so 3 turns top row. Potential ability of Lucia will take care of that. Normal attacks only, which is fine. You have the burn, which Lucci takes care of, as well as 7 turns of increased defense, so that's great. There is a 2-turn intimidate on slot boost, which is just whatever. And you do get a 5-turn cooldown for fighter, cerebral, or powerhouse at the beginning of the fight. So you just want to make sure that all your characters in here are one of these 3 classes, and that will just help you get through the content pretty easily. But the first 2 fights are really simple. I don't really see any too difficult things there. Like I said, if you don't have Izo, just replace someone who can do block slots for you there. That will help you get through there, and you can stick with the Lucci and you'll be fine for your captain there. Going into the next 2 fights, these are kind of the tougher fights of this encounter. So what they want you to do is, for the sugar fight, they want you to really go ahead and use the Sanji unit. For the Ulti and page 1, you use the Zoro unit. But of course, we're assuming that you didn't pull any of those, and we're going to build some teams to get around that. So for the sugar stage, you get a nasty HP cut when you go into stage 3, but before that, you do get a cooldown and reduction for strength, quick, and psi. So you do want to make sure that you're building teams on here that are strength, quick, or psi based. But as I was saying, when you get to stage 3, you get a nasty 80% HP cut. That's a pain. 9 turns of bind on the left column, which is a pain. You get badly matching slots there. Normal attack only, you have hunger, you have 6 turns threshold, you have a 2-turn recovery orb barrier there, and then you have a 2-turn color infinity -2 intimidation. And then finally, there is a 99-turn immunity, which is kind of the standard for these TMs. And then lastly, on death, you take a 100k shot. So you got to be able to kind of deal with a lot of different gimmicks on the stage to get through a bunch of this stuff. We're not going to take care of the HP cut going into the stage, but we are going to kind of help take care of the HP cut that happens at the end of the stage at 100k hit. So just kind of walk you through what our game plan here is for sugar. So for the 9 turns left column bind, we're going to go ahead and use the Jinbei unit here. You'll be able to remove 6. Then with sockets, we'll be able to get rest of the rest of the 3 to get 9 total. You could throw some ports on here that take care of bind as well if you don't want to have to worry about sockets or anything like that. So it's easy to get around this content. Nothing too difficult there. In terms of the bad matching orbs, we're using the Bon Clay because he does 2 things. Not only will he change the orbs to from badly matching to recovery, but there's a recovery barrier that you saw on here down here, so it kind of just helps get through that recovery barrier really easy, makes it pretty simple to get there. I am using the Sanji captain just because he's a Psy base captain, and he'll be able to really just help boost Psy damage, which is really what we want to do to get through the content. In terms of the hunger, that's why we have the Luffy on this team. We're just using his potential ability to remove that hunger. A lot of people should have this unit, so it should be pretty straightforward to use him to get rid of the hunger on that stage. And then for some of the other stuff, for example, the damage threshold that's here, we're using the Brook unit. The Brook unit can do a double special, so you'll see if you look at here, it says that he'll do it by 5. So like I said, you can just do double special, and you just want to make sure you have a Luffy on your crew, so which we do. We have the Luffy right here, so I'll just make it so we can go ahead and get that threshold removed. Not too many problems there. And then for the last piece of pain on this stage, we're going to just end up using Hina to take the death hit that happens at 100k death hit. Hina will basically be able to let us tank a little bit of that. We still have to take 20% of that 100k, so you have to make sure you have above 20k HP. But as long as you do, it should be pretty easy to get this, and she is a quick unit, so she gets that cooldown that you get from the beginning here. So overall, this fight's not too difficult. Like I said, as long as you have a lot of side units on the team, and you're doing a lot of damage, it shouldn't be a problem. I think the hardest part of this stage is getting through that 2-turn recovery barrier, and Bon Clay just helps you get through all that without any problems at all. So nice way to get through content, not too difficult there. When we start getting to the Ulti and page 1 and the Kuro and Django and Mihawk fights is where it starts getting really interesting. So let's take a look at the Ulti page 1 fight first. So you want to have quick Dex and Int characters on your crew. They get the 5 turns of reduction for all the different things that you see on the screen here. So you want to make sure that you're building teams like that, even though you'll see I've kind of skipped that to get around one of the gimmicks below, but we'll get into that as we start going through the content that's there. So on stage 3, you do get a 2-turn CD rewind for your second and third rows, 9 turns of normal attacks only, 6 turns of Rainbow Shield, 2 turns of attack boost -2, 9 turns of Despair, 11 turns of Paralysis, and then the boss has immunity. And if you do a Color Affinity boost, then you basically get all your buffs cleared. So a lot of different stuff going on here. So before we kind of get into all the different mechanics here, just a couple notes when you're starting off this fight. You do want to make sure that you stall for the first couple stages. You want to make sure you're using the anniversary ship to get the most cooldown, but you want to make sure you stall to let the Luffy that you'll see on my team, Luffy that we have here, who's not one of the boosted characters in terms of who gets their special rewound, because we're trying to get rid of this annoying Despair that's here without using too many support. So this Luffy can go ahead and take care of 5 turns of that Despair, so we only have to take care of the other turns. 5 plus 3 from Socket, so 8. So it makes it really easy. You only have to have basically a support that will take care of 1 turn of Despair, and you'll be able to kind of get through that content without problems. So just a footnote, you want to make sure that you are stalling on stage 2 to make sure that Luffy special is ready to go. But you'll be good. He is boosted on here, so at least you should get a little bit of a reduction of his CT by default. I think it's a 5 reduction by default, so you shouldn't have to stall too long on stage 2, but you will have to do that. In terms of the Nami and Karina units that you see here, you do want to start with Karina for both of these units, and the reason that you want to do that is because the quick units are the ones that get the cooldown reduction, not strength, so you want to make sure you start as Karina. And also why you want to do that is because when you go into stage 3, you're going to end up doing a swap on your friend captain, Nami Karina, and the reason that you want to do that is because that will give good orbs to your captain here, because when Robin goes and we're using her to help get rid of some of the paralysis, you'll see in her special, if the captain's orb is Dex, Int, or Tandem, it boosts Color Infinity, right? So we'll trigger that interrupt. You'll get all your buffs cleared. So you just want to make sure that you don't have one of those 3 slots in that space. And doing the swap on the friend captain, Nami Karina, will make sure that you end up getting a good slot on the captain, Nami Karina, and you won't trigger that Color Infinity and thus won't get your buffs removed. So just keep a note of that. You want to keep them both starting off as Karina, and then you want to swap to Nami for your friend captain, Nami Karina, when you get to that 3rd stage. On the actual 3rd stage itself, so as I mentioned here, you do get 2 turns of CD rewind. So how we're kind of getting around that is we're using the Karina special. If you look here, the Karina special will go ahead and reduce special cooldown of all characters by 2 turns. So that is awesome. You'd love to see that. And it just kind of lets you get through that special rewind without too many problems there. We then have the % damage reduction. So we're going to use the Friend Captain Nami special, and that Friend Captain Nami special will go ahead and get rid of that Rainbow Shield. To get rid of the Despair, as I mentioned, we're using the Luffy here. He'll get rid of 5 turns, and then we have some support units on Nami, Karina, or Robin to be able to basically get rid of the rest of that Despair. Not a problem. You can just throw whatever supports will help reduce Despair on any of your characters, and you'll be in just a really good shape. For the paralysis that happens, you do get 11 turns, which is a giant pain. But basically what we're doing is we're using the Nami and Karina. When you use your Friend Captain Nami special to remove that Rainbow Shield, she'll also remove 6 turns of paralysis. And then you can use this Robin here to go ahead and remove another 6. That'll get you 12. You only need to get rid of 11, so you will be in a really good position. That's there. This Rayleigh here is just a point booster. If you had someone else that you want to use in the slot, you're more than welcome to throw someone in there. If you want to throw like another Despair remover, you could. But I was trying to build not using like the new Luffy that people might not have and things like that. So I try to keep it simple. But this Rayleigh here really isn't doing much. He's just there just as a point booster, so you could swap him with whatever you want. He does have a color advantage versus the boss, which is kind of why I had him here, but it might not be a bad idea if you can find someone who can do 3 turns of attack boost. It might not be a bad idea to throw them in here, because you do get -2 to your Intimidate, so you'd have to have someone who can at least do 3 turns of attack boost, but if you can find someone, you could throw them in this slot here, and you'll be hunky-dory there. So that's how you take care of all the 4 mini-bosses, and then we're going to get into kind of the 2 hard pieces of content, which is really the Kuro and Django, as well as the Mihawk. So let's go talk about the Kuro and Django first, the TM boss. So on stage 2, let's take a look at the gimmicks reel here. You get 3 turns of Slot Bind, 6 turns of Super Burn, 9 turns of normal attacks only, Intimidate of attack and slot boost -1, and then you get a nullify damage of 2 turns. So this is probably the most annoying gimmick to deal with, just because there's not many units that can take care of damage nullification, and even less that are boosted. So they kind of force you to do it. So for this next 2 teams, I am going to be using the Anniversary Ace Captain. But this is the only unit of the new batch that you really have to do this. So if you don't have Ace, hopefully you pulled Usopp. You could have a Friend Captain Ace, use your Usopp, and hopefully this would work just as well. But that's kind of what the game plan there is, to be able to really use that Ace unit, who's the leader, to get rid of that damage nullification. On stage 3, he ends up giving all block slots, 9 turns normal attack only, 10 turns of the damage threshold, 6 turns Rainbow Shield. You do have to kill him over 2 turns, so you can only do 70% of the damage for each turn, which is a pain. So you are going to have to stall a little bit. This is where the Usopp Friend Captain will come in clutch. And then you have 5 turns of Special Bind for the left column. So if you're removing Special Bind, you'll make sure that that Special Bind remover is on the right side of your screen. And then last, you get 9 turns of immunity for the boss. And then if you do a base attack boost, you get all your buffs cleared. And then you get some nasty stuff after turn 1. So we're hoping that, like I said, with the delay, we shouldn't encounter any of these. So we'll see. What you want to make sure you do is that have enough units on this crew to just make sure you can trigger the super type of the Friend Captain Usopp. So that means you have to have some of the Straw Hat crew at least on there. Is probably the easiest to trigger that. But you can see the full list here. If you had pulled any of the units that are boosted, obviously they'll go towards that super type class, and you only need 2 of them, so it's not too bad. So as long as you have basically 2 of the Straw Hats or one of these other units, you'll be golden. So you can see that we have Jinbei here, we have Nami, we have Zoro, we have Yamato, so we have more than enough to trigger. Sorry, Yamato's actually not one of the ones that are there. But we have more than enough to go ahead and trigger the super type of the Usopp to be able to make sure that we can delay ignoring immunity. So that way, hopefully they don't do that nasty, those nasty gimmicks that you just saw on there. So to go through who should do what on each stage. So on stage 2, to get rid of the Slot Bind as well as the 6-turn Super Burn, we're going to go ahead and use the Yamato unit. And then to get rid of the damage nullification, we're going to go ahead and use the Ace unit. If you want, you could throw a chain locker on him, though it won't really matter because you get your slots changed at the stage 3 anyway. So you can just leave them as they are, and just, you'll get full deck slots using the ace special and be able to get through by removing that damage nullification there and get through pretty simple. I don't think there's really any too crazy things on stage 2. For stage 3 itself, so we're going to go ahead and use the Usopp and the Zoro units to go ahead and take care of that 10 turns of damage threshold. We're going to end up using the Jinbei unit to take care of the Rainbow Shield. And then to help get rid of that 5 turns of Special Bind, we have that Nami carrot unit that you see in the lower right-hand corner. Because only the Special Bind is only the left column, we can use the special of the Nami and Carrot to go ahead and just give us back, remove that Special Bind that's there. Should be pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I don't see too many problems with this team. We have 4 green units, which is great. Type advantage, and like I said, I think with the damage that you'll get, I think we'll be in pretty good shape here for quite a few nav levels to get through the content. So let's go into and the one thing to note here is you do have to throw a support of Luffy on the Zoro, and the reason that you have to do this is because in order to get the threshold damage reduction of 5 turns, you have to have Luffy either on the crew or as a supporting character. So you can just throw any Luffy you have on here, and you'll be golden, but you just want to make sure you have a Luffy support unit on that Zoro just to be able to give you the best chance to, or you'll need it to be able to get through that damage threshold. So a combination of that Usopp and Zoro unit will help take care of those 10 turns. So going into the final battle versus Mihawk. So again, we're using the same friend captain and captain, which is the Usopp and the Ace. And let's take a look at the gimmicks real quick. So on stage 2, you do want to bring Strength Dex Psi when you go into this intrusion battle. They are the ones that get boosted, so just make sure you do that. So if you look here, on stage 2, you get block orbs, you get 3 turns of CD Rewind on the left column, 6 turns of Super Burn, 6 turns of damage threshold, 99 turns of normal attacks only, and a 99 turn immunity. So a couple gimmicks here, but nothing kind of too crazy. So just to go through kind of who does what. So because you get the rewind on the left column, that means any in the right column should hopefully be ready to go. So what we're going to end up doing is using, and you want to start this team with Karina. You want to start this fight with Nami, and you'll end up swapping to Karina on stage 2. But you want to start with Nami, that we can get the cooldown reduction that comes as part of this. So make sure you start this battle as Nami, and then when you get to battle number 2, you can swap into Karina. And the reason that you're doing that is because Karina will go ahead and remove 2 turns of special cooldown for all characters, so that's good. And then we're going to use this Luffy right here to go ahead and give us 1 more. So that will be the 3 turns that will basically let us use all the specials of the units on the left-hand column. Makes it really easy for us to go. Works out really well. And then you have the Super Burn here. So again, we're using the Yamato unit to go ahead and help us get rid of that Super Burn. And also, besides having the cooldown of 2 turns for units, you also have the 6 turns threshold that the Nami Karina will end up removing as part of her special. Just like I said, that Nami Karina unit is like fantastic in normal content. She can just do so much to get through. She's like they're one of the best units like for getting around gimmicks. Just the fact they have 2 completely different specials that just do really amazing things, like this Nami Karina unit is awesome. So if you don't have them, definitely try to grab them if you can. But yeah, they'll help you get through both the special rewind as well as the damage threshold that happens there. So on stage 3, you get 6 turns of special rewind to your right column, so that's quite a bit. You get paralysis orbs, you get 99 turns of normal attacks only, and then you get some attack boost and slot boost only 1.1, so they expect you to use something to boost those. Then you get a 3-turn barrier where you have to do 2 dex orbs, so you want to make sure that you have dex orbs for all your characters going to here to get through that. 9 turns of bind, and then 99 turns of immunity for all different debuffs for the boss. And then lastly, if the barrier is removed, you basically take a 100k hit, which is and you also get a nasty attack for non-type slots. So you want to make sure that you're beating that barrier using the actual orb. You're not removing it, because you'll die pretty quickly if you do that. So in terms of what we're doing here, so the goal here is, because we used the Luffy special and the Karina special in stage 2, we don't care about them. Like, they're done. So that only leaves really the Ace unit that's here, in this right-hand column that could get special bound, and luckily for us, he has a sailor ability that will basically restore the special cooldown of 10 turns when it's rewound. So basically, that makes it so that the only unit who gets their CD rewound here gets it right back, which is awesome. It's fantastic. It does exactly what we want it to do, and that's why we're going to go ahead and be able to get through that with just the passive ability of that ace there. You do have to have him level limit break, so just make sure that he is level limit break to do that. But yeah, that will get you through that content. In terms of who's taking care of the attack and the slot effects, so that's really why we have the Usopp unit here. We'll use him stage 3. He'll be able to kind of just help boost some of those attack and orb effects that's there, so it kind of works out really well. And we can use a super class just to give a little bit of extra damage there, which will kind of help out. Like I said, you'll be able to easily trigger the Usopp special here. I don't think you'll really be able to... you will be able to trigger the Ace super type here as well. You won't be able to trigger it in the Kuro and Django fight. So that's just one thing to note. But at least in this fight, because you have Luffy on the team, as well as Yamato, you'll be able to actually trigger both the super type of the Ace unit as well as the super type of Usopp, just to give you much more damage, help you make sure you can kind of get through that intrusion, and really be able to take out the content there. Ace will also give all your orbs to Dex, so he'll help you get through that barrier that's there. And then we're basically using the Jinbei unit as well as the Ray unit here to be able to kind of help get through that 9 times of bind, right? So what ends up happening is that Ray support that's on Luffy will actually help get rid of not only 2 turns of the bind that's there, but he'll also help get rid of this paralysis orbs. Because when Rayleigh goes, when an enemy inflicts... let me see if it'll come up. It's not coming up, but this Rayleigh, when an enemy does despair or bind on the crew, it reduces all that by 2 turns, and that includes paralysis as well. So you'll be able to kind of get through there without too many problems that's there. So let's go ahead and pretty much wrap it up. So like I said, you'll use the Jinbei unit. He'll take care of a grand total of 6. With sockets, it should be 9, and then you'll have 10 technically with the Rayleigh unit that's there. Will help you just get through that content. Like I said, Usopp will take care of the 2 buffs that are over here. And yeah, you'll get through this pretty easily. So this is kind of what the team looks like. I will post a video tomorrow where we'll basically go into what my teams look like. So I did end up pulling all the boosters, including Usopp. So I went to multi number 4 in part 2, and I ended up getting lucky and pulling Usopp as well as the onion, pepper, carrot that I was missing as well. So we'll have a video out tomorrow that will go through that. But for now, we have all the boosters, and hopefully this will get you through some of the content if you don't pull or didn't pull the latest booster. So until next time, be kind to each other. Thank you.